We have 5 panelists here, starting with Samir Bangara, current Managing Director of Quickie. Could you please come on board? Talia. जोर से तालियां. Next up, Pushkar Chitle. He's the AVP Products at Moj Mobile. Could I have Pushkar on? Thank you. Yes, you can clap for him. He's a nice guy. Up next, Avilash Inumila. He's the founder at Samosa Labs. Hi. Ibrahim Popat, Kangri manager at 9Game. And Sumit Soni, co-founder at Blacklight Studio Works. Oh, yes, we're all on. And Samir, you'll be moderating it.
So, I think there's an interesting panel, as every moderator would like to suggest. But after having spent about an hour with the panelists, I think we will be able to extract some pretty good insights. I'm no longer in the gaming community per se. I have 3 investments in the gaming space, but spent 7 years at India Games, and I guess and love to come back to GDC every year just for the nostalgia and connect with old friends. And therefore, I don't do panels, and I prefer to do these. But we've got 2 app stores, alternative stores. Raise your hands, the people who knew 9app or 9Games before you saw them as a platinum sponsor here. Before you saw them as a platinum sponsor. Okay, awesome. And how about Games Bond before you saw them do the sessions here today? So they're relatively new, of course. So I guess you'll hear from the folks. And then from the, I think, one gamer, indie game developer from Noida. And how many of you would like 1 million organic installs for your content? Raise your hands. Who wants 1 million organic installs? Some of you don't want 1 million organic. How many developers in this session? And what? Ad tech, publishers? And I'm out of options. What are the rest of the folks? Students? Okay. But looking to be developers? And okay, awesome. All right. So I guess everybody would love 1 million organic installs, even though for the folks who didn't raise their hands, right? And you have 2 companies that have done 1 million, close to 1 million organic installs. One's, of course, Backlight. And how many of you have heard of Samosa Labs and the Samosa app? You'll get to hear from the founder of Samosa, who's had a viral app and raised money from a blue chip fund, and he hasn't announced it, and he'll announce it at this session. So we'll have some interesting announcement also over there. And I think one of the questions I want to ask him is how he's looking to spend that money, because that's another important learning. So let's maybe start off with the, and one interesting analogy that I think Prateek will remember from back in the days, when we used to come to sessions like this, it was always about operator bashing, a while back, because the operators controlled so much of the distribution cloud. That's beginning to shift to app store bashing, right? Because the operator is somewhat less relevant. So we won't indulge in too much bashing, but the idea will be to try and get some real insight into metrics regarding, rev shares, retention ratios, cost per installs, the things that actually matter. And if some of you are not familiar with these terms, it'll be an opportunity to get familiar with these terms, because I think they're super relevant if you're going to be publishing anything. So if we can start with Games Bond, and we'll do a 2-minute quick opening and then sort of keep it more conversational and have enough time for you guys to catch up with in the end.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Amir. Hi, guys. I am from Games Bond. I represent Games Bond. We are an app store, and we, of course, we are an independent app store. I don't know, a lot of less people raise the hand, so I'm sure that a lot of people are not aware of this ecosystem, maybe. We are that part of the ecosystem for developers wherein, today if a developer looks at Google Play saying that, okay, I need downloads for my apps, we also play a role in that. We also deliver 1 million downloads a day almost. That's a quite good number for, and almost 65 to 75% of that comes from Android. We kind of recently did a developer survey, gamer survey, and found out a couple of things like almost 57% of game downloads happen out of Google Play. So that is where we are. We are in that area. And of course, other than us, of course, you'll find there are browser app stores, there are messengers, there are review sites from where downloads happen. So we are part of that ecosystem. Couple of other areas which we kind of saw where women almost spend 23% more time on games than men. So I mean that's kind of one feedback to you guys, as that customer is kind of growing. Uh, so I guess that's it from the introduction side. I mean, I'll talk more as we kind of start off with the conversation. Thank you.
Guys, if I could just request a quick intro so that we can get in. So over to you, yeah. Samosa Labs. Abhilash.
Hi everyone, this is Abhilash from Samosa Labs. We launched an app called Samosa. So basically 6 months ago, I was sitting in a conference like this and I got a message from my girlfriend. And the message read, "You're so boring." And then I thought, what can I do? My girlfriend is complaining that our conversations got boring. And then I quickly launched an app in 2 days where I could send her cinema clips on via WhatsApp. So short audio messages from popular movies. And then I put it up on App Store and I told a couple of friends and they told some more friends. We got to 500 users. And then in about 2 months time, we got to 8,000 users. And in no time, we got to 500,000 users. We're currently nearing 800,000 users. And all of this happened organically. We haven't spent anything on marketing. And in the process, we also raised a seed round from Sequoia Capital. And that is where we are currently.
I think
Samosa
that
Labs.
deserves a round of applause, gentlemen. 800,000 organic. When you get down to doing it, is a tough thing to do. You know you're on top of something interesting. Just a quick question: that so this is like a video dub smash without you're doing these clips. Do you have licenses to these clips, or like dub smash it's unlicensed and you cut these clips and then people send them?
So we are an intermediary that just like Dubsmash is. So users upload content. For example, just this week, users have uploaded 700 clips onto our platform, and rest of the users share them. When the copyright holders send us a message saying that this is the content I own, we ask them to produce us whatever ownership they have, some certificate saying that they own the content, and then we.
But there's no monetization right now. So do you have an issue with it right now that people come back and asking you to take it down? Is it all good? Just a quick yes or no.
Not right, not as much.
Okay. The bigger you get, the more problematic there will be, I guess.
Yeah.
But you'll figure it out. Ibrahim, over to you.
Hello everyone and good evening. My name is Ibrahim and I work with 9apps. 9apps is one of the largest third-party Android app stores globally. We are part of the Alibaba group, which makes us part of the third largest internet company in the world. That being said, 9apps is a store. While we are global, we want to be very locally relevant to our audience, our developers and our publishers. And we have a lot of offerings which we would be talking about and discussing as the session progresses. But for now, that's it from me.
Over to you, Ian.
Hi guys, I'm Sumit from Blacklight. We have a game developers studio at Noida. We have more than 15-16 applications on on Google Play and App Store through different developer accounts. And in all, we have more than 3.5 million downloads for our applications. The recent application that got featured on Google Play App Store was a very legacy game. It's a solitaire. We kind of reimagined it how it should look on a mobile platform. And it got featured on Google Play Store, raked in more than 6 lakh downloads in just 7 days. So that's
So
our
you had
story.
6 lakh downloads in 7 days, purely organic, because you got featured by Google.
Yeah.
In how many countries?
It was a global featuring.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So and this was on solitaire. So what was the thought process? I mean, did you expect this at all when you were doing
No,
something that
we
was
didn't.
being done?
Our
How many
servers-
solitaire games are out there? Like,
Sorry?
how many solitaire games are out there on the store?
Maybe 500.
So, I mean, were you even what was different about your game, do you think? Were you expecting something to pop like this, or this was completely like Angry Birds the 51st game suddenly goes and
No. So we actually thought we are always into the classic games, the legacy games, and we always have a thought how we can make it better for mobiles.
right.
So we especially worked on its design, how it should look on mobile, how it should go by the Android's material design guidelines,
Right.
and that kind of worked for us.
Okay, so design is something that you thought you
Yes,
would score on.
something, yeah.
Okay, so just quickly moving on then, Ibrahim, if we can start with you. So a critical issue for all developers is obviously discoverability and getting a lowest effective cost per install if you're actually spending on marketing. Both these gentlemen here haven't spent on marketing yet, but certainly the one who's raised money from Sequoia will be, I'm sure, looking at a marketing plan. But at what is the cost per install? I mean, is $1 cost per install relevant, or is it 50 cents, or is it 30 cents cost per install of your app? And then there's a waterfall of that. So, if maybe Ibrahim, you can talk about how does your store make it? What's the differentiator? Of course, people are on Google Play and they're on on the App Store, but beyond that, out of the 18 million, the bulk of it comes from India, you said. So, being local, what's the benefit that a developer would get?
So most of our audience also, when we look at them, we find that it comes from tier 2, tier 3 markets who are having their first mobile experience or have just moved to a smartphone. Now, when they're using it, we know that they are looking for everything starting from apps, games in different genres. At the same time, we know the intrinsic problems that the market has, that is data is expensive, internet speed is slow, the right kind of apps that we need to show them or project to them which they can download. Now, an app or a game developer who is just getting started in the Indian market, yes, we don't want him to go through that tedious process where he has to pay for lakhs of clicks and then he has to back calculate to get to an install. And it should not be that he just ends up paying 5 times than what he makes. That just is not something, or it would not encourage an app or a game developer to scale up his business. So what we do is we tell him that no matter what time of the day, what kind of audience you reach out to, we want to give you a flat cost per install. Now, what is cost per install? Is we are charging you only when a user successfully downloads, installs, and opens your app for the first time, to put it in very simple words. And we want to make that process very easy so that even an app or a game developer who is just starting out his business, he starts understanding how to market, how to strategize his way of work or his plans into different aspects, including ASO, marketing, and so on and so forth. Also, when I talk about scale that we have to offer, we right now are doing about 18 million downloads per day.
18, right?
Yes, 18. And about 140 monthly active users.
Sorry, 140?
Monthly active users.
140 million monthly active
monthly
users.
sorry.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the could you give us some metrics of comparison between the Google Play Store and yours? Because what you just defined is when somebody's spending money. But let's say if Samosa, and ironically Samosa is viral but not on your store yet, and I'm sure you'll have the conversation, Samosa will be on your store soon, hopefully. But if he doesn't want to spend money, is there any delta differentiation that you can offer versus Google Play? How do you compete with a behemoth like that?
Sure, and this is a very relevant question because when we talk about download, the next question which from a person who has spent some time in the industry is what is the quality of user that you offer?
Absolutely.
Or we are just spending dollars we are not just spending dollars to get some downloads or installs. We want that kind of user engagement and at some point of time, even a transaction coming from our install. So we have published a couple of games on Google Play and 9apps both over the last few months. And I am talking about the data which is an average of August, September, and October. And when we looked at the retention rates for the next day, third day, and 7th day, we found that our retention was just 1% less than Google Play in all 3 metrics. So which tells us that though, and okay, one thing I forgot mentioning is for all the games, we had at least 2x or 2.2x the number of downloads. So if I average it out, I am able to tell you that we have almost the same quality that a Google Play would offer at maybe half the price or even less than that. So if you want to look at,
So can we just pause here because I think there's a lot of data points that came in.
okay,
You said double the installs,
yes,
okay? Just 1% lower retention. So
Yes.
you're actually saying you're far better. And then the cost per install, you're saying cheaper than whatever it cost on Google Play.
Yes.
So then you're saying multiples better than Google Play,
yes.
right? So because you're getting double installs, and does everybody understand what the 7-day retention ratio being? I mean, if you got 100 downloads on the 7th day, their retention ratios were better than 1% less than Google's retention ratio, but he's doing it at half the price roughly. So if it costs you 50 cents on Google Play, perhaps 25 or whatever it be, and double the installs.
Yes.
So I mean that's a phenomenal performance. Why do you think people don't sort of know enough of this? Is it something in terms of PR that you guys need to do and reach out to the community? Is it just because it's still early days for you guys? How is it that somebody like Samosa is not even aware or on it?
So that's a question. So we are still getting started in the market, and we feel that we have a lot to cover yet. But there are a lot of app and game developers who know about us, as well as a lot of advertisers who are spending their dollars with us. And they see this kind of quality coming in from our inventory. But it is still too early for India in order for indie developers to start spending and even looking at our stores, because they feel that Google Play is still the de facto
So
standard.
Sumit, you've been on both the stores, on or 3 of them at least. So you've been on 9app. What's your experience being in terms of volume of downloads? Because clearly the potential that we're seeing here, do you have more installs from 9app versus Google Play, or are you still maturing on 9app as a store?
So initially when we launched Solitaire on Google Play as well as 9 Games, the volume was pretty much same at that time.
Okay.
Pretty much same. So like since 9apps has only, it's primarily focused in India market, whereas the Google Play is focused globally. But still we are seeing pretty much the same number of downloads from both the apps.
But that's great because, I mean, Google Play is a much better store, a much bigger store, but you saw similar volumes. And did you track retentions? Are you tracking retention ratios yet?
I won't have exact numbers on that, but it was pretty much same, I guess.
Similar retention ratios. Okay. Maybe if we can get into on GamesBond, Pushkar, if you can give us some. That's a store that you're developing right now. You're part of the Moj group. You obviously have deep inroads into operators. Okay. So I think one difference that I'd like to point out here is, I think from 9app 9 Games, they're doing in-app purchases. They also offer operator billing. But I think your difference, what you're talking about is a subscription model. And so to play both the stores, I mean, you could actually test different things. This is on a download and in-app. That would be a subscription model. Subscription, obviously, if you can, it's largely, a lot of it depends on how that is positioned to the user. And if you can get good subscriptions, it's healthy revenue streams. And coming from the Moj group that has so much in mobile VAS, traditionally, what are the learnings and differentiation? So you may be smaller, but can you convert more monetization so that you're equal to something that may be 10, 15 times your size? Give us some insights and metrics on that, if you will.
Yeah, so as you rightly said, as per volumes, yeah, certainly, I mean, we do 1 million downloads, so I mean, that's nowhere close to the Google Play scale, of course. We also have a couple of monetization methods for developers. A couple of them we are in the way of building right now for GamesBond. So we are looking at in-app purchases. We are looking at pay once and pay free for play free for life games. So that's kind of a la carte model wherein you buy the game and there are no ads, there are no in-app purchases inside. It's a one-time payment. Of course, there's a whole subscription part out there which kind of allows us to kind of build a revenue and in turn kind of share a bit of it, a part of it with the developers. Because for every developer, I'm sure it's important that whatever game he develops and wherever he hosts, he looks for revenues to kind of create the next game after that.
So Give us a sense of rev share between Google Play and the rev share that you offer developers. What's the delta, if there's a difference?
Rev share in the sense of monetization, of
Yes.
course. I mean, it's generally we go for a 60-40 kind of a rev share.
60 in favor of the developer or you?
Higher on the mod side to start off, and generally we kind of end up at 50-50.
So 40 for the developer,
Yeah.
and maybe 40 to 50% is the range you're talking about. But and on Google Play, of course, it's significantly higher, right?
Yes.
So do you, when you're talking to developers, do you see that as a resistance point to come onto the platform? Why do you think that you need to charge a premium versus a much bigger store? Obviously, you believe that there's some value. Maybe it's in operator billing, maybe it's in something else. Because certainly it's not in scale right now.
Yeah.
So why have you gone with a premium to the Google Play model?
No, so basically, it's not only about that monetization part. We allow a completely free download experience to the user, wherein the developer can monetize through his in-app APIs advertising, and for that we don't take any share out of that. So that is a complete distribution platform where a developer can just generate his own revenue. There is no revenue share in that.
On the advertising side.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is what we give to the developer, that okay, we'll deliver you downloads, and as per your game performs, I mean, you can certainly generate revenues. So basically it's a user acquisition what we can give them.
So Ibrahim, what's your rev share versus you have a flat rev share or does it vary?
Yeah, so we have a flat rev share, and we have two things. We have a telecom API for in-app purchases, and second is we have an ad SDK.
Okay.
We have built a mediation platform. So on the mediation, it's same as a standard Google Play, which is 70-30. And on the in-app purchase, which comes through telecom billing, that is a flat 50-50.
Got it. Now, on the operator side, I mean, the entire time that we lived through the traditional VAS model and India Games, and much was said about operator revenue shares. But I can tell you one thing: operator revenue shares, for whatever they were, operator billing worked. And I'm not talking about incorrect billing or forced billing. I'm talking about genuine, that one-click buy like you have on. Let's say even on Amazon, which is a one-click buy approval, is a huge, massive differentiation in terms of conversion. So it would trump, at least at that time, it would trump some people who would offer us a 90-10 versus getting a 50-50 with an operator. It would still be multiples better going by operator billing, as long as you had the billing correct. And so with a legacy player like Moj that has, so the billing correct means, for each operator you have to be integrated in 21 circles and your billing has to work there. If you don't have leakage in the billing, operator billing is actually fantastic. It's a different thing that the operators is still, taking 50% or 60%. Do you see a lot of interest from your developer community in getting that service in terms of operator billing? And in terms of your payback to your community, are you seeing bigger chunks coming from operator billing? I would assume so. But can you give us a sense of what kind of paybacks? Like, what's the volume of monetization flowing back? Like Apple would say we paid $1 billion in a particular quarter to the community. What's the number for you guys right now?
I think firstly, I mean, of course, developers are very much kind of interested in this kind of a model wherein they have this access to the micro payments through in-app purchases. So
you don't get the pushback on the 70-30 versus 50-50. There is a clear value proposition that people see.
Yeah, I don't think we would do that. We'll still ensure that, the developer also earns enough through that. For him to sustain and build the next app and then again kind of distribute through the store. So I don't think we would do that.
What's the volume? Maybe it's one. Ibrahim, can you tell us what's the volume of payout across gaming or overall across apps? Give us a sense of scale. Is it in the millions of dollars? Is it in the hundreds of thousands of dollars? Is it in the tens of thousands of dollars?
Okay, so the data I can share is, I have a case study. So there is this publisher who has a Teen Patti game, who went live with us and had in-app purchases. Now, the price points that we have start at 3 rupees and they end at 150 rupees. And still the developer ended up making $100,000, or if I put it in a rupee amount, it is 60 lakhs.
At end user price?
Yes.
At end user price.
Yes.
And then operator share, then
Yes.
your share, okay.
Yes.
Right. So that would be about 20 grand in $20,000 or 12 lakhs
Yes,
in the
yes.
right.
So
right.
he still makes upwards of 10 lakhs, which is not a
In
bad
what
number.
time frame? Sorry, did you mention? In how long did it take to do this?
This was in a period of 8 to 10 months.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything that you can share with GamesBond, or you think it's still early for GamesBond to talk about these metrics?
I think as far as in-app is concerned, I think it's quite early.
Okay. I think is the mic on?
It's not working.
Yeah, it's on. I think now.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as in-app is concerned, I don't think I have the numbers to share right now because that is something
Subscription?
we are right now building up.
Yeah, but subscription?
Subscription, annually, I think on an average it would be in the range of some 200,000 rupees. I mean, it could be
200,000
like
rupees?
20 lakh rupees somewhere.
Okay.
Just one point I wanted to add to this is even when we talk to a lot of game and app developers and we try to push in the in-app purchase SDK, there is a lot of resistance. The first thing they say is, "Koi pay nahi karega." Or 90% of the developers, they don't even have in-app purchase as a payment option. They only focus on ads. So with that 10 or 15% of developers who are really serious about making money through in-app purchase is where we try to push our SDK, and this is one case study just coming from that 10-15%.
Correct. Can you give us a quick sense before we move on to Abhilash, in terms of cost per install? What is the cost per install, Ibrahim, on your platform today? What do you sort of offer your developers? So when they're running a marketing campaign with you, what's the cost per install?
So our cost per install varies between 25 cents and it goes up till 50 cents, depending on the kind of advertiser, the size of the app, and many things. But we, as I said, we always encourage new advertisers and new game publishers, so we are very flexible on that.
And the value, again, you're offering there is that they get a flat CPI.
Yes, they do.
You don't spike it
They
based
don't have
on...
to bid, yes.
Got it. And what would that compare to on GamesBond? Is there a model that you've developed on that right now? Roughly the same, I would imagine?
Almost same, I would say.
Okay.
I mean, somewhere around 30 to 35 bit more maybe.
Okay. So Abhilash, moving on to you. It'll cost you 25, 30 cents to do an install here. It'll probably cost you double based on what they're saying to do it on Google Play. What's your strategy? How are you going to spend your millions? Or it's just because what's interesting is that he's raised enough money to do this, but he's not raised stupid money. Because when you raise stupid money, you would never want to listen to his strategy because it'll be something that you'd never want to attempt. Because when you raise double-digit millions, you do foolish things. The amount that he's raised, he'll have to really be sensible about how he spends. It's good money, but not stupid money. So how are you going to actually spend this? How much of that will go to marketing?
Yeah, before answering that question,
Yeah, it's on.
to briefly tell a couple of things we did. I mean, to get to first 500 users, we almost tried every possible thing. For example, we'd go to OLX and post to buyers saying that you install our app, we'll do a purchase. And then we'd go to SoundCloud and post to people that will follow you if you install our app. And we spammed every possible platform. Wherever there is messaging available, we'd spam everywhere. None of that worked for us. Literally none of that worked. And we even did more crazy stuff. I'll tell you one more example. We scraped email IDs of all placement officers in all engineering colleges. And then we sent them an email saying that if your students have to apply for our company, they have to first install the app and then get 10 more of their friends to install the app. So we did a whole bunch of crazy things. None of them worked. The only thing that worked for us is the most powerful thing, that is the word of mouth. People telling to their friends. I think that's the oldest thing that is working from hundreds of years, and that still works, and our app is an example of that. And of late, we have started trying Facebook ads after having gotten to a lot of scale. And with Facebook ads, it was unusually high. The cost per install was touching $2 to $3, and we've been exploring the alternative ways, and we're figuring out various things. So the way we approach is we take a small budget, we quickly do a campaign, and we learn from it, and then quickly iterate. Even on the marketing side, we see what are the results, and then.
So you've tried Facebook, but you haven't. What kind of CPIs are you seeing in your? Have you run any campaigns for Google Play?
Our Google Play campaigns are currently running. I don't have
Okay.
exact numbers.
So just give us a sense. While that may not be the core focus of this, but because everybody is largely startup and indie here. How much are you thinking of your budget? You must have given Sequoia some story. How much is going towards marketing? How much is going towards team development? Tell us what the real thing is. If the real thing is what you told Sequoia, that's fine. But tell us, how are you going to spend some of that?
I do not know. I'm still figuring it out. I'll probably able to tell in a month or two.
So there was no business plan when you funded this?
Our funding round got closed in 4 hours. There was no presentation, nothing, and there was 70.
This is a Black Swan event, but congratulations. That's fantastic.
Yeah, there were 70 questions asked us. They came prepared. They took a flight, and then.
Can you hold the mic up?
Yeah, there was 70 questions that Sequoia has prepared, and they came and they asked us those 70 questions. Demographic, when people are using, what time are they spending, like 70 proper questions about the app that will give the.
And how many of those did you have legit answers to?
I had only answers to 30 questions. For rest of the questions, I used to give them a samosa. And then they went back, and a couple of days later, they again came back to us, and in those 2 hours, they were selling themselves to us, like why we should consider Sequoia. They were telling why we should not consider other investors, and and then 4 hours, in first 2 hours, 70 questions about our app, and in the next 2 hours, they were selling themselves, and then it
So
got
Avilash,
closed.
you've been very eloquent. Thank you so much. What was your valuation? There you Cat got your tongue there.
It's still too early. We're still growing, I think.
Okay, we'll let that go. So coming back to Sumit, is there any insight that you'd want to share before I sort of go back to some questions of the store, and then we want to open it up to the audience to ask a few questions?
Sure. I would like to tell each and every indie developer here, like, do try all these app stores, because they give you a good amount of discoverability, which you would find initially very hard on App Store or maybe Google Play Store. So these app stores give you a good visibility. At least they give you your initial users on which you can at least test your application and know actually that if it works or not.
Yeah, I think that it's a golden period because I think in the West the app stores are pretty polarized between the two obvious ones. But in India, it's always been a fragmented market. And prior to this, it was polarized on the operator stores. And inside the operator stores, it was Airtel and Vodafone largely. Now what's happened is you've got, these additional stores. You've got 4 plays, 5 plays. And I think you guys would have heard that each, Micromax, the hardware guys want to integrate software and be their own stores because that's where they see the value. There's no real value left in being a hardware play. So they want to integrate their own stores. So you'll have another distribution point there. Foxconn is investing heavily into being a software ecosystem in addition to being a hardware play. And they may launch with their own brand. They have launched with one and think they'll announce a massive brand soon. So they will have their own ecosystem and their own play. The trick is being able to sort of distribute it across all. And I think Amazon's also here, but it tends to happen that somehow each store has its own unique audience. And suddenly you have your game performing better in one store versus the other store. So it's up to you guys to figure out where your metrics are actually working and track all of them. All right. So let me quickly open it up to the audience for a quick round of questions, and then we can wrap up with a summary if we still have time. Go ahead. Can you you'll have to be a little louder.
So, yeah, basically there are different price points by every operator, and I mean, because it's micro payments, generally we start off with a weekly model. So it's a weekly subscription, and then that can be kind of renewed.
And what's the
On an
pricing for
average.
weekly subscription? The pricing that you're charging for weekly subscription, or it's up to the developer?
Starts from nearly 35 rupees.
Okay.
Yeah.
35 bucks for a week and you have about 7 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
Not bad. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Hello. So my question is for GamesBond. So like for 9apps, at least they have a huge user base with the help of their browser business. Now for GamesBond, where does your audience lies and how do you actually drive traffic to your store? Because you don't have a user base that already exists for you to build on the business.
You're right. I mean, we don't have the browser with us, so I mean, we don't have that kind of traffic. But we have, I mean, we do a lot of SEO, we do a lot of social media traffic. We have 1 million social media reach, so that pulls good kind of traffic to us. Of course, I mean, Moj as a family, I mean, has multiple kind of portals, right from Mobango, GamesBond, and everything. So we have this free app store also, which also we can drive traffic to GamesBond. So I think, I mean, more than the number of people coming to the site or the traffic in just numbers, I think it's about driving the right traffic. And that is what we are trying to do with the right SEO, the right kind of social media presence, building the right pages, driving the right traffic.
I think just the key takeaway from the dev side, just sorry to cut in, is there's a store, it's offering you some value add, test it, doesn't cost you much to actually come on board, doesn't cost you anything. Even if it's an extra, 100 installs a day, why not take that? In terms of revenue monetization, it would be better. Maybe we'll take one last question or perhaps then summarize. Okay, all right. So I guess...
Yeah, I actually had one more question for 9apps, if I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
So really quick one then.
Yeah, quickly. So on your store, I generally have seen the direct APK download as well as the rerouting to Google Play Store. What is the feedback in terms of which one performs better, the direct APK download or the one that gets rerouted to Google Play? And has there been any objection from Google Play on that?
That's a good question.
So the difference you see is because we may have a different business arrangement with the app. Yes, or the channel from which you have downloaded the version of the 9app store. That being said, the conversion from the APK is much better because it's just a click and download, whereas it redirects to Google Play and from there you have to again download it and get installed. So there is a drop-off, a huge drop-off in that process. So definitely direct APK conversions are much higher.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you all for attending. And I think, do we have a party on tonight? Oh, okay. Awesome. Thanks all.
Thank you, guys. Thanks.